always taking some of your artistry into virtual reality. Virtual reality is going to be a little bit of the same and a little bit different for everybody who's just starting to engage with it. When you're directing virtual reality, the viewer can take on a whole host of different roles. And you really have to consider it when you're developing the narrative plot pretty much from the beginning. You know, the role of the viewer can change, but I think what's most important is that you need to engage them. It's really easy to get bored if you're not being, if the story isn't being directed and carried along in the right way, you know? We need to first establish the environment. They need to figure out where they're in. We need to give them just enough hints to have something to chase with that. If someone busts through a door in the back and you can't really see them, you're still gonna look there. And then maybe you'll look back and you'll see that everyone's freaking out and they're still looking there, and you look back and then that person is coming down towards you, you know? And that freedom to be able to do that is what makes it special. Or maybe I don't look, you know? Maybe I'm like, you know what, I know that that's happening, but I'm really engaged with what's happening over here, and that's your decision. And that's what makes it both exciting and challenging as a filmmaker, because, you know, I want to control the narrative, to be truthful. You know, we all have that. All artists have a little bit of a selfishness in that regard, but also coming from theater, I'm really interested in that sense of freedom to view what you need to view, and so there's a lot to take into consideration, from sound to lighting to movement of the actors to the height of the camera to that first establishing shot. All of these things are going to teach the viewer how to engage with this piece of art that you're making.
Sound in virtual reality is crucial. It's so important to create the reality and make it have weight, make it be real. Because sound will build the world, sometimes even more than video will. If you have a good soundtrack that considers the space, the person would, without a doubt, be immersed in it, even if your graphics or your video is very simple.
Sound in VR is more like real life than it is in any other artistic medium. And you have to reflect that. But on top of it, there's also an artistry that's in play. It's important to capture sound or develop sound in a way that makes it feel like it is all around you. You know, you can have an extremely immersive 360-degree experience with just sound. Audio cues are going to be big in any medium, but in this one they are huge. The slamming of a door, someone yelling, a bird off in the distance, something very close, someone dropping something. All these things are sounds that the audience will engage with and look at, depending on how you are pacing that in the rest of your narrative. Lighting. Lighting can be huge. You know, we're making a fantastical horror film. It's going to start pretty dark. So when we bring in lighting, it becomes a really clear thing. If a door opens and light comes flooding out of it, you better believe that you're going to see that light and engage with it. If the lamp turns to red, even if I'm looking the other direction and the lamp's here, I'm still gonna see some of that red come over here and I'm gonna look towards it. So lighting can play a really key feature as well in how you interact and engage with this. Blocking. That person needs to come through that door, first of all, right? But also, if someone comes up close and looks directly at the camera, that's a really bold choice. Someone throws something over the top of the viewer and someone else grabs it on the other side, and the audience is watching the person who threw it, they're probably gonna follow that ball over to the other side. Where you want the people to look is almost like focusing with a more traditional camera. And it's certainly like bringing someone downstage to give a monologue on the theater as well, right? And so you have to continue to think about how we keep people moving, how we keep them engaged. Not to mention that movement is also going to teach the audience or the viewer how to engage with it, how the blocking is going to work. First of all, it's probably going to be a little different based on how you set up your camera, how you establish your first shot, how high it is. Is it at eye level with the majority of your actors? If so, then that's going to make that person who's viewing it feel like they are kind of in the same room, on the same level, engaged with them in a really specific and more personal way. The camera itself is always going to be a character in some way because it's being occupied by the person who's experiencing. And that means that the way we block things, the way we engage with things is going to be different. Also, when you're working on a traditional film, first of all, it's a lot easier to change out lenses, to find different angles, to set up different shots. Even with virtual reality, if you're just moving the camera on a dolly, can be quite nauseating for an audience member unless you set it up right. We have to be aware of the fact that there is someone sitting in the middle of this, that we are throwing around this space. Sometimes it feels limiting. Sometimes it feels like it's a new form of freedom. And I think that, we can't get too caught up in what we were able to do in traditional film or whatever. We have to focus on what we can do with virtual reality.